Hello, this is Vanessa, creator of Espirito Libre. This is the first recording in a series that I'm calling Spiritual Awakening. This series will explore my own personal journey with spiritual healing and how I became aware of my gifts over time. Unlike other stories, I'd like to start this story in the middle. It's December 2019, and I'm in London, England, with my brother and sister, whom I love and adore. By all accounts, I should be having an amazing time, but I'm not at ease. In my home life, I have a partner and the most amazing son, so bright, loving, just full of light, but I'm not at ease. In my career, I am at the top of my professional accomplishments in a way. I am leading a team of amazingly talented individuals who just have so much passion for the work, for wanting to fix things for others, for wanting to use their unique skills and talents to show up every day at work with purpose and energy. My peers are two of the most capable, fearless, amazingly powerful women that I've had the pleasure of encountering in my life. But I'm not at ease. I mark this period as my near spiritual death. I was literally hanging on by a thread, trying desperately to keep the pieces together because on paper, I should be very happy. I have the ability to travel. I work for a Fortune 6 company. I'm making six figures. I have a partner. I have a child. So why did I feel so miserable? It's no exaggeration to say my job almost killed me. Not a physical death. I didn't work in a dangerous industry or profession. And, I had no thoughts of self-harm, but a spiritual death. I felt myself drifting further and further away of who I felt I was. Feeling almost as if I was watching this happen to somebody else. I was depleted on every level possible. I was constantly tired. My body was in pain. My mind could not be quieted. I had so much anger, resentment, and sadness. But on that trip, I decided enough was enough. I set out with intentionality to make 2020 the year I reclaimed my energy, my time, my identity, my culture, my power. So it started in 2020 with me having what I considered to be a courageous conversation with my then manager about my desire to leave the team. the reason why I consider this a courageous conversation was just because of the type of environment that was created on the team, made it very intimidating to even talk about what you should be able to discuss freely with somebody who is your manager and tasked with your development. I also had feelings that maybe I owed this individual because, I felt they had kind of plucked me out of obscurity and given me opportunities for which I, was grateful for. But it ended up making me feel like I needed to have this unhealthy sense of loyalty and attachment. So I had that courageous conversation to make my manager aware that I was ready to move on from the team and that, I would prefer to stay with that company, but that I was also open to exploring opportunities outside of the company. So that gave me a sense of, relief and with regards to that aspect, although I had no further clarity on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to pursue at that time. Couple months later, I also had to have a courageous conversation with my partner at the time around what I was feeling in the relationship and how I felt about what the future should look like between us. And ultimately, that led to the dissolution of our relationship, which obviously came with its own intense grief as I now had to imagine a world where I could not be with my son all the time. And that filled me with extreme sadness. So all those two actions brought up more pain in a way. They also provided me with a huge sense of relief in terms of finally recognizing and listening to what my intuition, my body, mind, and spirit had been leading me towards for a while. So a couple months after that, I did end up formally submitting my resignation. The events that transpired between that conversation I had with my then manager and to when I submitted the resignation gave me no further comfort or hope for a future with that company. So, I made what was a very painful decision to resign. I had been working with this company for, at that point, it was half my life. And so much of my identity was wrapped up in my work. Not because I considered myself, a workaholic, but I had brought my full self to my role, including my empathy, my compassion, sense of foresight, ability to help others, just strong desire to serve. And throughout my time there, I had confused what was actually part of the job and maybe part of the company's values and stuff with what I was actually bringing to it. And so it took me time to realize that I would maintain my identity and everything that encompasses outside of that organization and really outside of the structure of work in general. So, I really felt lost after I stopped working in August 2020. It was really hard to not continue to critique myself against these societal standards of pretty much hustle culture, or linking our value to our productivity, the widgets we produce, what we either choose or are forced to do to survive in this world. So when I first stopped working, I still felt the need to be productive. I still felt the need to kind of put on the show of, hey, I'm competent, I'm of value, don't forget about me. And my body and mind pretty quickly told me, no, it's too soon for all this. You're not ready. I just didn't feel that excitement. I didn't feel excited about anything. I didn't feel excited about what I had thought I was going to love. Um, I was not ready or willing to commodify my desires anymore, my passion, my soul in a way. And so I listened to, my body, and I spent a lot of time resting and reflecting. One of the first things I did after leaving my job was um, to create what I refer to as my care team. So I found a therapist, a psychologist, I found a psychiatrist, and then I also found an energy worker. One of my lovely colleagues who I got to know towards the end of my career was so generous and kind enough to gift me with a session with this energy worker. And I had never done anything like that to date. So I can tend to be a naturally skeptical person, but I'm also very curious and open. So I was very open and willing to give this a try, especially after this person explained to me and shared more about their own experience, and then just kind of shared more about how they viewed me, as being somebody who was spiritual. And it's so funny because it's not something that I had really considered up until that point. I had this kind of maybe one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional view of what spirituality was. It was either, this evangelical form of religion, which I didn't want to have anything to do with, or what I saw is more of the colonized version of spirituality, the spirituality that has been, commercialized over time. So that tends to lead people to think that it's like, hokey, gimmicky, more like a snake oil type of, practice. Um, but again, I knew that I needed to do something differently. And unbeknownst to me, I had been using, spiritual practices all along. So as I started working with my care team, who also happened to all be women of color, I was able to start to really do the type of deep reflection and inner work that I needed to first recognize that it was okay for me to rest and recover. I had nothing to prove to anybody, and I was still a capable mother. I could still be a capable mother and tend to my own needs. So that was a gift to me. Being able to work with these people, to have the time and the space, is such a tremendous gift and privilege. I definitely want to be very mindful of where I have privilege, and recognize that not everybody is able to have the time and the space to do this. So, um, definitely not out here preaching that people go and quit their jobs and have the ability to take the time to do this. But my hope is that through sharing my lived experiences, you're able to at least um, relate to some and maybe get some helpful ways of approaching, um, your own desires, your own issues that you may want to address and resolve. So I just had to learn how to be, to just exist, um, and to really have the time to reclaim my energy and to identify the areas that I needed to focus on, in order to get to a point where I could do what I ultimately wanted to do, and that's just to help others, to be of service to others. So for the last year and a half, close to 2 years, that's what I've been up to. Also during that time, I had the wonderful opportunity to connect with a friend of my brothers from high school, Julian, and was asked to participate in sharing my experience as part of a series that he hosts where he gives platform to voices that are often othered or systemically underrepresented. And that was also a very pivotal time in my healing journey. It was very therapeutic for me to just be able to share some of my experiences, and then to have dialogue with somebody who feels very similar to me. And I felt seen and heard, and there's tremendous power in that. So I'm so grateful and appreciative to Julian for that opportunity. So at the beginning of 2022, I felt like I was almost back in middle school or high school, where I, like on career day or something, where I was just kind of asking myself, what do I want to be when I grow up? And everything just felt, ugh, I don't know the right word, but every kind of path I went down didn't feel right. And you know how people, when they see that you enjoy something, see that you may be good at something, they always like to give the advice of, well, maybe you should do that, for work. So I got some helpful advice along those lines as well. But one of the things that my spirit was clearly telling me was I did not want to go back to anything that closely resembled the environment that I had worked in for nearly 20 years. I didn't want to feel like I had to adopt a hustle mindset, that rise and grind. Um, I didn't want to feel like I was necessarily monetizing my passions and my dreams. But the fact of the matter is, we live in a world where our survival is tied up to earning money. So this is where my spiritual side intersects with, I guess, more of the reality of the situation. So, I don't know exactly when everything, sort of became clear, but I just felt the sense of awareness, readiness, and energy to wanting to help others explore their spiritual side, to claim the benefits that are there for us through these ancient practices that are also happen to be scientifically proven as well. And really just to experience firsthand the tremendous benefits that I did. And so I'm really eager to work with, individuals and groups who might be feeling a bit stuck, overwhelmed, unsure of themselves. Maybe you're full of self-doubt, or you're just tired from the world. There are tools out there that can help you heal yourself. And that's what I want to share. Whether it be through these series or workshops or one-on-one sessions with people, I am here to help.